Mata? What is mata? And I'm like, I insist, leta mata, genda fridge. So he connects, he's thinking fridge mata. Yes, the challenges are there. They're constant. It doesn't stop because you're competing against English. Gato, bamama mutuyambe, omwana bwabaine, nyina omusiimulako.
So what inspired you to teach your kids Luganda?
With love, not with, mukono mugumu, no.
Hiya, welcome to my channel. My name is Sisi, and in this episode, I'm so excited to be bringing to you Diana Lwanga.
Petuli embatento tetumanyi kubala tubalanga tuddamu.
Gwabato. So if you've watched my previous videos, I've made a video on how to teach kids Luganda, and I really talked about this channel so much. So I was so excited when I met Diana, and I was even so much more excited when she agreed to come to my channel. Thank you so much, Diana. You've been so instrumental, I want to say this on camera, in me starting to teach my kids Luganda, especially in the diaspora. It's really, really difficult. When I first started, so I mentioned in the video, which I'll link below and above, but one of my things was that when I realized I was a Black person, because I didn't grow up as a Black person, but I became a Black person in the UK, and not even on arrival. After some days, it was that time when George Floyd was killed. And then I was like, I'm also a Black person. And then I looked at my kids and I was like, for them, definitely, they will grow up as a Black person. But I feel like when kids grow up, they get that sort of like confusion. There's identity confusion of, am I Black British? Am I Ugandan? Am I like white? Like, obviously you're not white, but there's that confusion of where do you go? And so I realized that language is a big part of identity. And so when I started thinking of, where do I start searching? How do I start teaching kids Luganda? I went to YouTube because I'm such a YouTube person. Most things I've learned on YouTube. I search Luganda songs. What comes up? Diana's channel comes up, and the first thing that I taught my kids was that song of Mbatento, Mbatento, and yeah, it's been so really, really helpful. So Diana, thank you for coming. Welcome.
I'm glad to be here. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
So can you start off by telling us about yourself? Those of you who don't know about you, who are you and what is Mukwano Gwabato?
Well, where do I begin? I am everything. I am everything. Kids, I am a mother of 4. They're now grown. I love music. Sorry?
I'm telling people, can you believe it? She's a mother of 4?
Yes, I have 2 boys and 2 girls. I love music, and through music and having children in the diaspora, that's where Mukwano Gwabato started. Mukwano Gwabato is a friend to the little ones, but then somebody else could say love for the young ones. Yeah. So, but it all stems from, things I enjoyed as a child, singing, nursery rhymes, stories. And also on Sunday, back then when we didn't have FM, we had medium wave and we had Radio Uganda. So every Sunday we had Esezomto, and she would bring a program, I don't know, I think after Tukutendereza was the kids program. Then she would host all these kids and she would talk, and it was fascinating. So those are some of the things that are part of Mukwano Gwabato. It's from my childhood and also having my own children in the diaspora, wanting to have my language and that the richness, the wealth, my culture, what I know, I wanted to give it out to my children and then to the world, to the entire world out there.
Okay, thank you so much. You know, I also I used to watch, I don't know about, I never listened on audio, but I used to watch Esezomto. There's a lady called Esezomto. She was on WBS, I think.
Yeah, now you had more TVs before UTV. After UTV, I mean.
And then she would be saying, "Oh man, Chana."
She would say, this is her. She said, oh Bambi, Bamama, Bambi Kangato, Bamama Mutuyambe, Omwana bwabaine, nyina omusiimulako. Yeah.
Yes. So she used to have a radio. Okay, I wonder what happened to her. So
She's
anyway,
there. She's there. I think she must be in her 70s or something like that.
so then I think that also speaks to the immortality of media, because it keeps you alive forever and ever.
Yes,
Like
yes.
people listen and it goes on and on and spreads. So I think it's such a really good thing. So what inspired you to teach your kids Luganda? Did you always, like, from get go, from birth, or is there a time where
I never focused in the beginning that this is what I was going to do. It just came naturally. I was raised by a Muganda woman,
right?
but when I came to Europe, in Sweden, actually, you'd be surprised. Most Ugandans, most of Uganda, speak Luganda in their homes, and their children were born there. So that actually, for me, it was a shock. They spoke Swedish outside, but in the houses, those that I knew, they spoke Luganda. So, but anyway, going back to your question, for me, it came naturally because that's what I knew. I couldn't express myself any other way. First of all, I couldn't speak Swedish when I went to Sweden. So I had a 2.5-year-old.
Was Luganda.
Yes, because we moved, she was 2.5. And I had to speak we always spoke Luganda. And actually, even in Uganda, I never spoke English to her. Funny enough.
Is your husband Muganda as well?
Yes. He's a Muganda. But he didn't speak much Luganda, if that makes sense. I spoke most Luganda. And also, I really love the language. I just had this love for Luganda. And so on and so forth. When I had other kids, I still did the same. But I remember vividly, we used to sing a song when it was bedtime. So we had a book. It said my first prayer book. So we would read a page from that book. It was an English book. We read from it. And then I would sing a song to her. She's now a big girl. She's 20. So I would sing a song. It's called Miti Jehovah Mpola, 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 Miti Jehovah Mpola, Katonda Twagala. And then so on and so forth. I would put her name. Her name's Layla. I said, Layla, Yehovah Mpola. And then I would say, Mommy, Yehovah Mpola. Like that. So and then she would go to sleep. And that has been the same for all of them. Even when they're still in the stomach, I would sing to the fetus. And yeah, so music has been part of us and part of them. And that's where the language comes from for me. It's through music.
I think also it's very admirable, I think, because a lot of Baganda have the same thing. Like you mentioned, the ones in Sweden teach their kids Luganda, even from home, which I don't see with a lot of other tribes. Like it's not as much as Baganda maintaining their culture. So it has to be passed on from generation to generation. And for you started when you were back in Uganda. It wasn't necessarily like something new for you. It's just the way it was taught to you, then you taught it to others.
Yes, yeah.
I think that's really cool. Also, I think you have such a beautiful voice.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
That you're always singing for them. Haven't you picked up singing?
They sing, but they're shy. They actually sing very well. But when I mention, you should do music, they're like, nah. Nah. Yeah, but they can sing.
have you faced any challenges trying to teach your kids Luganda, especially as they grow older? Because I know when they're still in the home, I imagine it's much easier. But when they start getting exposed, like going to school, for example, are there any challenges?
Yes, the challenges are there. They're constant. It doesn't stop because you're competing against English or any other language. But you just have to keep your mind. You set your mind and keep it set and say, we're going to speak this language. With love, not with, mkono mugumu. No, with love. Because for me, I believe in being kind, but then firm. That's the best way to raise children. I've done the strict part. I am a bit strict, but I've done the strictness and it didn't work. It brings strife in the home. So we are firm, we are kind, but then through this, we're also learning. So then I decided to give little instructions. They will answer in English or they will look at me. The middle child, she used to just give me some kind of attitude like, what are you saying? But I insisted, ngambie, leta esowani, teka esowani kumeza. So instructions, genda onabe. Okay. And we struggled, but I never stopped. Even now, I still speak in Luganda. They'll answer me in English. If they don't know it, they'll be like, eh? Mata? What is mata? And I'm like, I insist, mata. Genda fridge. So he connects, he's thinking, fridge, mata. What does she want? And then the older brother will say, milk. And I'm like, ania kutumia mugambe. But yes, the challenges are there, but we laugh over them. We laugh through them. And I've turned Luganda into a language, a love language. I say love language because I see they learn more when I'm kinder in my language, other than when I'm stricter in my language. If I want to be strict or reprimand somebody, one of them, I will speak English because that's what they understand most. So, but when it comes to Luganda, Mukwano, obaddechi, oh, katata. So, yeah, kamama, so, and then we happened to go to Uganda twice for longer periods of time. And they would now, whatever was in their subconscious now, yes, it returned. And when they came back here, everything was now being put together. So I also advise parents, when you can, or plan for it, take your children home.
How long were they there when you went?
So we first went for 9 months.
That's a long.
Then we went again for about 6 months. So altogether, put it together a year.
How old were they?
This was 2020 and 2021.
Homeschooling anyway.
So they're all different ages.
I was thinking of homeschooling, like school. So,
but saying that, the eldest, who came at 2.5, one would think because she was 2 and she was born in Uganda, she would know the language. But you'd be surprised. She went to predominantly white or English schools, and she only spoke English. But she speaks more Luganda.
Really?
Than her siblings. She understands even the deeper words in Luganda. It's because for her, I continued, and I knew that she would understand. So I never spoke English, only when necessary. And I'm thinking, okay, like I said, when it's reprimand or zivudeko, then I'll speak English. But other than that, ewaka, peace, Luganda.
I think that's really, really important. Also, like you've mentioned a lot of important things, but the one about using it as a love language, because what I've noticed is that a lot of people, like in the diaspora, they might speak to their kids in English, but when it's time for like reprimanding them, or telling them like someone has done something, that's when you hear them saying Jakukuba, or they'll say Akutera in Nyankole. Like it's like
Yeah.
our languages come out in anger. And so
Yes. So
I
why
feel
you how will they love the angry language? Hello, the no one wants to associate with anger.
and this also encourages me personally because for me, Luganda is not my first language.
Mm.
So for me, when I'm angry, English is what comes to me first.
Mm-hmm.
I would usually feel like I start trying to fix it, take it back to Luganda. But then now I'm like, no, I think I will just leave it and I speak in English and then I maintain Luganda for good times.
Yeah, but also my challenge, not just them, my challenge as a parent, I struggle to express myself in English because everything that my thinking, my way of everything is in my language. So
And,
my brain has to now translate to English. It
mm,
becomes so difficult for me to also comprehend, you
mm,
know. So sometimes I want to say something and I can't say it in English. I can only say it in Luganda. So then
mm,
there's now a barrier
yes,
between the two of us.
yes.
Yeah?
That's say loosely translated. Sometimes you can't translate the word directly.
No,
It cannot,
no,
cannot
no.
be expressed in the other language.
Yes, yes. And also, well, yeah, I'll leave it at that. Yeah.
How would you advise someone who, let's say, because now for you it's a bit different because you had you the Luganda was a part of you. What about, let's say, people like me who we are just trying to teach our kids Luganda, but not from birth. So for instance, like for me, I started when my daughter was like 2. And it was quite tough to suddenly switch. What advice do you have for parents?
Don't put so much pressure on yourself.
Mm,
Take it easy. Like I said, start with the simple instructions. A child has a capacity to learn about 5 languages until the age of 7, at least until they're 7 years old. They will learn as many languages as they are.
and there's
So
no confusing them. There's no
no,
saying that they.
no. And their brain is growing. They're soaking in everything, like they're sharp. But they have all this innocence. Like but the brain is really, they can learn. They can learn. It might take them a while to speak, but it's all in here. It's all in the mind. They will speak it eventually and they will learn. You'll be surprised. So it's us who worry because we think we can't and we think they can't. No,
Yeah,
they can. They really can.
right. They're
Yeah.
not like us. Yeah.
Yeah, they can learn Swahili, they can learn Mandarin, they can learn English, they can speak Runyankore, they can speak also Luganda.
They really.
So, yes, but start with the simple instructions.
This is an important lesson to me as well because my parents were here recently,
Mm.
and they speak Kunyankole, and then suddenly my kids started actually repeating some of the words they were saying in Kunyankole, and I'm like,
Yes.
so amazing. And yet here we are. Like the reason we started with Luganda is that I was like, you know what? Since my husband is a Muganda, at
Mm.
least let's get a language we can both communicate in, so that
Mm.
it's easier. But
Mm.
actually, there's nothing stopping me, only myself. It's my own mind that's making
Exactly.
limiting me so that you know what, I can't speak it to them in Runyankole, and but actually you can teach them all languages.
Mm.
Um, what about the fact that sometimes I feel like there gets a point where the children don't want to speak their native language. Like, have you faced that with any of your kids where they feel like now they don't want, like they know it, they understand it? Because I
Mm.
know someone telling me about her daughter who reached a certain age and suddenly English seemed the cool one and she
Mm.
didn't want to speak Luganda. Did you face anything like that with any of your
Yeah,
kids?
yeah, yes, yes. That's because there's so much pressure out there, and the other people are cooler, yeah,
Yeah.
than us. And also, you have to be somewhat empathetic.
Mm.
So, for instance, I used to say brufen,
Mm.
the
I
tab.
still say Brufen. Mm.
And
Ibuprofen.
my daughter grew up thinking it was brufen. And one time she's in school and she says brufen. And her friend is like, "What do you mean brufen?"
Mm.
And she's saying, "Mama says brufen, it's a painkiller." And later she finds out that ibu- ibuprofen. I said, Mommy, why did you teach me? Why did you say brufen? I said, it's brufen. What do you think it is? It's not brufen, it's ibuprofen. I said, so they also face challenges.
Yeah.
Because we speak differently, we behave differently. They're not gonna be. We dress differently. We see things differently. We are totally different from the other culture. And now they want to go out there, they want to fit in, and they want to be them. So they're confused. Am I British? Am I Ugandan? But then I'm here, I'm Black. Where do I, what do I do? So then maybe their mind. So if a child psychiatrist could tell us, a psychologist, they would tell us, maybe their mind is telling them this is cooler, so let's stick with this one. Maybe that's how they are coping. Maybe it's a coping mechanism. Who knows? I don't know. But yes, you go through it, but you insist.
And is there an age where like the children now come back and thank you? I don't know if you've reached that point where they appreciate and they're happy that they knew the language.
Yeah. Wait, when they get to age 13, 14.
I would think it becomes less cool. Like what
Sometimes they're with their mates and they want to say something that the other people don't know. And they will then speak to you in Uganda. My elders would call me on the bus and she would, ndi ku basi. Onze oyagala ki? Teerayo ku ssente. Okitegeera konze mmeka zonna z'osobola. So you see, so she's coding in a way. She doesn't want them to know that she's asking for money. She wants to be cool. She's going out. So when they get out there where they're going to have a meal, she has also her own money to spend.
Yes. So, I love that. Yeah. A secret love language between you and people.
And then I would call her. They're probably in a cool space, and she doesn't want to say, "Damonkubireko." Like she would make it so funny as if it's like CIA or secret. But those are the joys of teaching Luganda. And then now as a parent, it takes some pressure off you much later when you feel that you can now communicate with them in that language. That's what I'm seeing now at the moment with my 14-year-old, with my 12-year-old, and also like when people come to visit, to greet. You know, she found it. One day I said, hey, this girl, she threw herself on the floor just to rebelling. Like it was so strange. I think maybe nalisi chimuyigirizangako. And then slowly when she saw her big sister do it, it's not being done to harm you or hurt you. That's how we do it. And it doesn't make you it doesn't make you less than. I know people talk about it and say, oh, feminism. I don't know if it's part of feminism or you shouldn't kneel. But that's our culture and we are proud of it. We don't mind it. We don't feel less than just because we are kneeling down to greet. So she's had to learn it. Yeah, just like that.
So what about when you went to Uganda? What was their experience? Like, I imagine people would try and backbite them thinking they don't know Luganda, and then
when they knew now, they knew that, and they they learned a lot of things, going to the well, going to the field, okulima.
You really did all that.
Even yes, proper. I took them to my mom's place. It's proper, like it's not so far, but it's proper chalo, yeah. They even kicked akadongo. Do you know what akadongo is? The soil which you use to make bricks.
Yes.
Hey, nebatema ettaka, nebayiwamu amazzi, nebakasamba, nebakola bloka. And those are experiences. How are you going to take that away from them? Border. Eh? So they would sit on one, their uncle had one, he would bring it and then they would sit on it. And those experiences, peeling matoke, sweeping the compound, climbing trees,
Yeah.
getting avocado that has fallen on the ground, collecting it and bring it home,
I love that for them. I would love
and
my
being outdoors.
yes.
Being outdoors generally. Yeah.
Indoors, yeah, was radiator life.
Yes.
And also I wanted to ask next about, you know how on your channels there's a
Mm.
video where you taught your sons, some kids, okay, there were some white kids in your
Yes.
son's class, how you told them that song of Sisi.
Bagenda mu kibira.
How did you do that? Because we have understood how you can teach your kids, yes, but how
Mm.
do you teach like Bazungu?
So, that was it 2016? Must have been.
Mm,
So they had an assembly and it was about forests.
mm,
And I mentioned to their teacher that I have a song about forests. And she was like, "Oh, do you mind teaching us
mm,
what that song is?" So I sent her the words. And by then I hadn't even recorded the music yet. And she said, "Can you come in and record?"
mm,
I said, "No problem." My youngest must have been about 1 year old. And we went in together. So it took us 3 weeks.
mm,
But I went into the classroom and taught them word by word. It
mm,
was difficult in the first few days, but by week 2, that's what I'm saying, that sometimes we underestimate these children. By week 2, they knew all the Luganda words because we had to pronounce word by word. Twagenda. So
mm.
all the syllables we broke them into different sections,
Yes.
and they learned the whole song and they presented it, and it was amazing.
Amazing. It was so amazing. I saw that video, I think it was also rotating on WhatsApp at some
It
point.
took 3 weeks. Precisely.
I feel like that's also encouraging because if kids who have not even had this language at all ever and now are able to pick it, or at least they can learn, then even you out there, if you have your kids, you're at home, and especially if you yourself you know the language, because I feel like sometimes it's very strange, but yet it happens a lot where you find that parents can speak Luganda. They might even speak Luganda to each other, but they can't do the same to the kids. I think you can be encouraged because at least the kids have been hearing the Luganda, they hear you, and a lot of times I think they understand.
They
They just
do.
can't talk because you're not talking to them.
Yeah, they do. They do actually. They do understand everything.
Mm.
Yeah.
And also, actually, when I was growing up, because I grew up with so many languages, my mom is a Samia and my dad is a Mnyankole. You too?
My dad is a Samia.
Your dad is a Samia?
Yes, so I'm half Samia, half Muganda.
Nange, where's your village? I know all the villages, but
Yeah, Yoba. I last went there in 1997. Proper in Budandu. I'm Namdandu, I think. Somewhere after Majanji,
yeah,
Masafu.
I know. Aha, Masafu. I think my grandmother's village is no, my grandma's village is in Buuni, and my granddad is in Bugiri. Anyway, so but now what my mom did is that she didn't necessarily actively teach us Samia. She did not act. She was trying to focus. Actually, my parents were teaching. We were speaking to us in English. Can you believe it? It
Mm.
happens a lot in Uganda, where I think because English is considered, maybe it's unfortunately colonial remnants that English is considered more superior. So the generation where they're teaching kids English. So for me, I grew up not teaching me English, but I used to hear them speaking Samia. Like other people, like my maid used to be Samias usually, who are like relatives from the village. So I learned the language, but I couldn't open my mouth to say the words, but I would understand everything that they're saying, even instructions, but I just couldn't say it. I do wish they had made me talk, and then I would be confident. So
Yeah.
anyway, the point was to advise parents out there that the kids probably understand, but they just not have the confidence to talk. And so if
Yes.
you encourage them, then I'm sure they'll thank you.
Yeah. And also, don't laugh at them, by the way. We have a tendency of laughing at the kids when they say something wrong. correct them, but don't laugh at them. Because then when you laugh at them, you will discourage them from learning more. Kubanga bagamba nti ekita omukwano gw'abato nseko.
So what if one parent only knows the language? What's your advice?
Carry on speaking. Now, look at our friends who marry women or men from Holland, Germany, Sweden, all the Austria, and the other parent cannot speak English. The other parent probably learned the country, the language of the country. But I've seen the mothers, especially Scandinavia or German or Holland, they're speaking their mother tongue, but then they're also trying to teach their children Luganda through Mukwano Gwabato. Yes. Yeah, so just persist, just carry on speaking.
So we just persevere, basically. We persevere, we keep watching Mukwano Gwabato. Finally, as we come to our close, when can we expect some new content as your big fans?
This year, definitely this year. I'm always thinking of new ways of doing things, but this year, definitely, hopefully, we can animate more videos of the songs that we have. That would be a good,
you already have so many songs.
Yes, and I only have 7 videos, so one day at a time, and you're going to have more videos. That's where we will start from. For now, a new album will come, and another and another and another. But for now, I think giving you more videos would be best, will serve us best.
Thank you. And I know, where else can we find you? Because I know we can find you on YouTube. I know you're on Spotify as well, on Instagram. Can you tell the people where else can they find you?
So if you have Spotify Premium, you will find all the albums there, all the songs there. Follow me, just click follow.
I'll put the screen picture here.
Yes. On YouTube, do subscribe and watch or listen. There's also instrumentals on YouTube that you can play in the background while your kids sing the songs, especially if they've mastered the songs. On Apple Music, everywhere that they sell music digitally, I will be there. So all you do is type in Diana Lwanga. On YouTube, it's Mukwano Gwabato. Yes.
And on Instagram, it's Mukwano Gwabato as well.
Yeah, I have both handles. I have my personal one, Diana Lwanga, and then I also have Mukwano Gwabato, at Mukwano Gwabato.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming. And do you have any final encouragement or advice or anything else to tell mothers and fathers out there trying to teach their kids Luganda in the diaspora anywhere?
I just want to say to parents, all parents, you're doing a great job. You're doing an amazing job. It's usually not seen, but you are wonderful. Well done. Keep on. Do not give up. We are in this together. I'll do my best to give you what I can and what I know, with many others who are doing what I'm doing. But don't give up. Don't give up, because it pays off. And you feel proud when the children are growing and they're grown, and you can express yourself, you can speak to them in their language. And also when they visit Uganda, they know a few words or even more. They can talk to the locals, they can talk to the family members. So don't give up.
Thank you. Also, to add, as my own advice as well, as someone who's probably like you, if you're out there and you also want to teach your kids and you're struggling, I think that's really good advice from Diana, is that a lot of times we put ourselves on so much pressure. But I think that even having got to this point, you've done a lot. Just getting to that point in your mind of thinking that actually, I think I need to do this. Getting over the mental hurdle is the biggest problem, I think. Getting in your mind that, can I do it? Should I? Like, you can, first of all. And also just start. My advice is just start.
Yes. Yes, that's true. starting is a good point. Yeah.
Because I started when mine was 2 years old, and we had been speaking to her in English all along, and then I just pretended that now she knows Luganda. It was so awkward for me and for her, and I would somehow like want to laugh, but I just pretended that she knew Luganda, and I just started speaking to her in Luganda suddenly, and then one day she said Neda. That's the first thing she said in Luganda.
Yes.
I was so proud of her, and I was so excited. So
Yeah.
just keep going. Eventually, you'll get there.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
And the music is good. It helps them to soften the
Yes, because
tongue.
they have songs, and also I really love that song of Mbatento. It was such a nice like beginning, even
Mm.
recently, because my eldest has just started the first reception, and so they sent us like a clip where she's at school and she was singing Emo Billy Satu, and then the teachers didn't know what she was singing, but they
Yeah.
said Gabby's teaching us a Luganda song. It sounds like it's the alphabet.
Wow.
Emo, Billy, Satu, Punya, Matano, Makaga, Masawa, Manana, Wenda, Kumine Emo, Kumine Satu, Kumine Nya, Kumine Nya. Ah, Billy!
Well done, Gabby! Good to go. Alphabet. It was counting.
Yes.
Yes.
Wow.
So anyway, so that's as far as the impacts that you have done, Diana. I think you might not get a lot of feedback, but it's been really life-changing, not for you only, but for a lot of us and for future generations. Because my daughter can say that, there is hope that her own daughter can, or
Yes.
like future and future. So anyway,
Yes.
yeah, thank you so much. And
Okay.
I think we'll end here. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to watch more videos from me, then please do subscribe. Bye, guys.
Bye.